afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, Master Propaganda, Hero of the Reich, Defender of the Fatherland. We're off here to 1 vs 1 on Semoisky wins between the North. We got Sturmtiger Giap back here after some time. I haven't seen him much, but he is back and he's rank 44 at the moment here with the Soviets, fighting for Stalin, the motherland, socialism. Taking on the role here of the 10th Tank Corps in the south. He got Gastrodon, a less known player, but a Japanese player, I think rank 6, or not 60 but 70 with the Oberkommando fighting here for Germany, Deutschland, taking on the role of the 11th Panzer Division with Scavenge, Fortifications and Spec Ops Triple Infantry versus Combined Arms, Lend-Lease and Shock Rifle here for Giap with Infantry T-34 bulletins. The interesting thing is he's got bulletins for T-35s, but none of his doctrines open up for it. Double contrast out here for Giap versus double full screws for Gastrodon. Moves here aggressively using his Sturm Punch their Spearhead, which is generally one of the better ways of using the Sturmpioniere as the Oberkommando West, in my opinion. Up north, we've got conscripts there hitting the fuel point here, with the conscripts setting out there for Giap as well. They're going to be able to catch the Sturmpioniere out there to try to wall off the entrance to the house, but that doesn't quite work out there. Quickly, before they can finish the wire, why it will magically vanish on its own. That is the power of socialism. Really? Well, that or people just stealing it, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, we got a special route command here up for Giap, so just double conscripts into penal troopers there. A bit of a rarer start from the Soviets, but you can go for it. Personally, I do like it occasionally, in particular just to not go for penal troopers, but to go for scout cars. But Giap here does have penal trooper bulletins, so he could very likely go there into the Strafnik, so that way contest Gastrodon's force as he goes for more Volksgrenadiers. He's also finding towards the few point here, securing the route here towards the southern one. Penal troops on the way there. Giap securing the northern fuel point, but he's yet to connect it. There we go. We got some engineers being rushed forwards there, and we got some sandbags here to help defend the eastern victory point. So far, Gastrodon maneuvering in to secure the center of the map for the fatherland, Deutschland. Southern points are secured. Scouting out for any rations that might be up to no good deeds, and we've got more Volksgrenadiers here for Gastrodon. So he's going for a very infantry approach there, flying the field with the semi-cheap Volksgrenadiers, but on the other hand quite combat able. The actual combat efficiency of the Volksgrenadiers though could vary wildly, since it largely came down to how many veterans the division would have had when it was built up, since most Volksgren divisions were actually built up from shattered infantry divisions from the Eastern Front or the Western Front. And those divisions that lacked veterans were usually also the ones that performed the poorest, because otherwise they did not actually have a lot of training. In most cases they might, if they're lucky, have a month, but in many cases they only had weeks of training before they were shipped to, fight the enemy. So in many regards, Volksgrenadiers were not exactly the best the Wehrmacht had to offer here, and obviously would not have been part of a Panzer division, but they could have been sent in to support a Panzer division, for example. Even then, while they were intended sort of as an offensive information, they were largely used defensively because they weren't, in many cases, again, well trained enough. In fact, the Germans had a system for rating a division for what's different kind of action, and most Volksgren divisions would only have been rated for defensive fighting. We got the Strafnik here versus the Volksgrenadiers, the SVT-40s versus the K-98Ks. In the south here, conscripts with the most guns fending off the Volksgrenadiers. More penals was there for Giap. Folks are standing about here, ready at the cut-off point. Gastrodon here, going for a truck. Most likely mechanized regiment. That is very much the Oberkommando West method. Of course, a lot of places, if they go for Semoisky winter and sort of get control of the center, they'll usually try to set up a bad group headquarters. That way, gain control of the center of the map here. We'll have to see what Gastrodon aims for. Hiccup. Overall, there's a series of standoffs. Gastrodon's forces are a bit scattered. He needs to be a bit careful about that. He might want to try and push for his opponent's fuel. And there you go, he does end up going there for the mechanized regiment. No surprises there from Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. Pushing ahead, we've got two full squads defending off against them. Nothing further going on in Giap space. We've got no medics, no molotovs, no anti-tank grenades. We've got full squads here in the west. Sturmpioniere sneaking about here, might be setting up defences. They're in fact not, though. No support for his western push. Gastrodon here seems to be somewhat just in a hold mode. He's seemingly not entirely sure what to do with Giap. He's worried about the attacks, but at the same time just kind of wants to push forward, but not doing it in sort of specifically very organised manner, which makes it easy for Giap there to deal with it. Another Volks squad in it, but again on its own, under real support, no Sturm Pioneer, no nothing. So Gastrodon certainly needs to reevaluate his tactics here very quickly. We've got a Bunhunt grenade off here against Giap's forces, which obviously tells Giap he's got something up, but it doesn't tell Giap exactly what does he have. This is going to be the battle group headquarters of the Mechanized Regiment. Of course, based on what is most common though, he will probably assume it is the Mechanized Regiment and will of course prepare for looks, because that will then be Gastrodon's right next fastest point here. And of course the question is, how does Giap prepare for that one? Are we getting slightly here outmaneuvered? We've got the Sturm Pioneer supporting, Volks joining in, troops in the middle of the rope. There we go again. Good play there again. A lot of good players like to use merch from the troops so they can get away with it. There we go. Actually merge the conscripts from the engineers. In this case, to realise that the situation is lost anyways and retreats. But, again, had he kept fighting, that would certainly helped out. Medics up, let's peel up the troops. Very good as well. We've got a second Panzer squad and moving across the ice, attacking here to defend the fuel point against the fascists. Up here, Panthers will rush away though. Too many Germans holding up the line, and there we go. Gastrodon goes for the looks Aufklärungspanzer. But technically, most Panthers divisions would not have access to it. They had to make do with armoured cars of some sort. Reconnaissance tanks were actually quite rare. There was the looks, and there's the one based on the Czechoslovakian Panther 38T. More or less the same performance, also built in roughly the same numbers. Fun fact. Panthers are being pushed back by the Volks Grenadier Corps here. Could actually engage in there, probably put him to light cover, beating them, but he rushes back for the house, allowing the Volks there to get Sergei there with a few well-placed shot to the back. And there you go, got the looks there rolling ahead the cold, snowy roads of Eastern Europe. Here, situation sort of continues to slowly develop. There are no Molotovs that could allow him to flush out the Volks Grenadiers there. But Kedden Alpha for Gastrodon, he is probably imagining that Giap will try and rush out a light vehicles to counter his looks. There's thus preparing support there. Mines up here in the north, if not but why on mine, sandbags are laid down the Giap earlier on, and mines, good. Looks roaming about, looking for easy targets to pulverize with its autocannon. Flamethrowers here supporting a penalty squad as they move ahead into the eastern corner of the village, and there you go. Preemptive incendiary grenade in case it tries to bomb into those. There you go. Rush burns up the Russians a bit there. Mine goes off, killing several engineers. Good work there by Gastrodon, actually slightly preparing defense, so they could have laid down some wire here and there. Conscripts continue the fight there for the southern fuel point, denying it to Gastrodon and the German army. And Giap has gone for combined arms army. You do not see that doctrine very often from the Soviets, but it does have a lot of utility in some ways. But we'll have to see though how much Giap actually makes use of it here against Gastrodon. Got the looks moving up, engaging the Strafniki. Back here we got take up tank with tank command for Giap and the 10th Tank Corps. People are getting blasted up north here, constantly getting the Sturm Pioneer there. More barbed wire. Sturmgewehrs versus most of the Janssen we got there. The Panzer 2 on the way. Fun fact, there existed a version, sort of modification for the Sturmgewehr that could allow it to fire around the corners that was known as the Krummellauf, or sort of, well, curved barrel. There was also sort of an attempt to sort of make a version for the Sturmgewehr that could be fired from inside a tank. Little fun fact there to sort of help defend them against anyone trying to climb up on a tank. People standing about here. We got PTRSs up here for Giap. No guardsmen right away. They would certainly also help us with the looks there. But looks like it's going to initially rely on anti-tank rifles to hunt down the looks and deal with it. Sturm Pioneers actually overwhelmed here by the conscripts, pushed back. A smaller victory there tactically for Giap in the far northwest there. Looks straight into the PTRS as they go, taking a few hits. And again, another preemptive incendiary grenade. That's actually the first time I've really seen someone do it like that, just specifically grenading a house before the enemy pops into it, so they'll already be on fire there. That's a very interesting move there from Gastrodon, very interesting tactic. Though of course in this case Giap does catch on to it very quickly. Still very neat there, but Gastrodon here is losing ground to Giap. He's gone for the battle group headquarters, by the way. Always something I find is a bit dangerous there, when you're probably rather wanting to, or should be taking up towards medium armor faster. So that could give Giap here more time to push back against Gastrodon, who has yet to go for Doctrine. Furthermore, it's going for repair pioneers and medics, so that's a lot more fuel sort of being diverted away from sort of tech and armor. So that is a bit further risky there for Gastrodon, who has yet to use a doctrine. Giap securing the centre of the map. They're also pushing for the southern fuel. We see no sign of gasping there for Giap. He could also go for some fuel caches. I mean, he does have the manpower for it right now, so that could be a very good choice there for Giap versus Gastrodon, who's doing a bit of harassment in the far east against Giap and the 10th Tank Corps. Just reinforcing. Luke's setting out once more for the fatherland here to defend the fuel point against the penal troopers. Apparently struggling a bit with the ice. Mining the entrance to the church. Sneaky Giap there. He could also mine here the sandbags by the victory point. He could wire it off, or he might be even more devious and try and lay down a demo charge there. Constant push back from the north. Will look more like retreating. Got the Luke's moving in, Fulton moving ahead there as well. Nothing from Giap's light vehicle. Oh, there you go. Got the S-6M. M standing for modernized. In this case, refer to the fact that they slightly changed up the engine and the compartment. Specifically, went from 2 engines to 1, which caused a lot less burnout. So it was actually difficult for the driver to usually handle 2 engines on that thing, because there was 1 engine for each separate track, and the compartment gave them more room since they basically opened it up. Thoughts there versus the penal troopers here. Manpower floated by Giap still. 500. Not a huge amount, but still a bit worrying. MG-34 round there for Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. Standoff here in the centre. Slow movement towards the north. Giap still in control of most of the map. Here we got the S-6M there arriving from off map. There you go, dealing with the penal troops here. Need to get the Lukes into support. Forces need to get out of there soon there. And we got the S-6M rushing down to the support. P3S is up there for the second one. It does mean he's going to be a bit less efficient versus all of Gastrodon's infantry. There's a bit risky there for Giap. He's actually building up a fuel cache there next to his base. Very good move there by Giap. Very good. Good use of all that spare manpower. Will certainly help a lot there versus the longer game in terms of fuel versus Gastrodon. In particular, if Gastrodon can't get the other 2 fuel points under his control, at least one of them, because then Giap will be able to race ahead here of Gastrodon very quickly. And that's going to give Gastrodon quite a headache long term. There goes some 6M rushing ahead. They're taking a few hits that are Kenneth setting up. And there you go, landing a good hit there. Ah! Really risky move there. Shifted the S-6, probably shouldn't have done. Oh, Kenneth, I mean. Oh! Lost the looks, but got the S-6M. The problem is, of course, now it's going to a lot of infantry, though, of course, Gastrodon also has, but we'll have to see how that works out. If he gets them upgraded, they should have a chance. Of the problem is, with that many penal troopers, he might run into some issues. We got the MG-34 fighting here from inside the church. Having occupied the positions, but could be rushed here by infantry and flushed out. And there you go, realises he's actually in a very exposed position, needs to fall back. Needs to get his troops out there into the field. He needs to go for doctrine. What here he could consider fortifications for S-Mines to make it harder for Giap to push ahead with his infantry. Would also force him to go for another engineer's corps with minesweepers. He could go for scavenge and Jaegers plus some infiltration grenades. And I suppose spec ops could, with some further tech. With Orbital landing again with some firepower, then they close the quarters of the map. We'll have to see there what it ends up with. But Gastrodon launches another assault to claim the village, attacking into the western outskirts first. Comes there, pushed back, overwhelmed by Gastrodon's tactical genius of just bunching up a bunch of Volkskandiers and sending them forwards ahead. Need to get into the front of the engineers, otherwise inside the house, the church, that's going to be a very short-lived engagement. Unarmed Granada should be able to return the field engineers though. Go force on the mountain to the open. Small chance of wipe here, focus on the conscripts there appropriately, but looks like he is not quite too concerned with that, just pushing it to grab as much as he can. And he really needs to get that fuel as quickly as possible as well. The longer Giap is allowed to have that, the further he just sort of roll ahead in terms of armor. And currently he's getting 39 fuel per moment, which is 3 times as much as Gastrodon. That is definitely not something Gastrodon should be allowing here from Giap. Quite the opposite. He should be locking that down as hard as possible. He should also try and harass his opponent's fuel a bit more aggressively. He's also floating a lot of manpower. So, I mean, he can't build fuel casters, so he should probably look to, A, taking up the game for the Schwerpanzer quarters as soon as possible, and B, aiming for some calling infantry, possibly sort of help the situation. He's going for a second cannon now, he's probably realising he's falling behind in fuel and needs to be prepared. That's not a bad idea. But I still think overall he needs to sort of make some decisions there for the longer game. That sort of benefits him rather than just being reactive to what he expects his opponents to do. So A, tech, and then, you know, go for a doctrine and possibly call in some infantry. We'll at least get out another MD-34 to help contain some of all of Giap's troops. We'll have to see what it ends up with here from Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. There we go, tech for Giap, and he can actually go for T-34 as soon as it is done. Due to, again, good fuel control and the fuel cache. Comparatively, again, Gastrodon hasn't been able to quite successfully control his fuel or deny Giap his fuel. And that's probably sort of Giap's biggest advantage, whereas again, he's been able to disrupt his opponent's fuel. Gastrodon has similarly not had much success there versus Giap. Toss in again, he went for the Battle Group headquarters around just relying medical kits, and he, you know, upgraded both the Battle Group headquarters and the mechanized regiment with the respective support personnel. Kind of further sort of just slows him down as well there. So he needs to A, tech fast, and, you know, B, hit the fuel very hard. Can't allow Giap sort of unimpeded get too much more, because otherwise he's going to get drowned in a tide of T-34 76s. More penal troopers for Giap to replace the ones lost. Not a lot of upgrades for the Volkskriegs, doesn't have the munitions for it though. Another MD-34 would be good, but otherwise Gastrodon needs to tech and choose a doctrine. Well, he's getting back grounded. We got Garsman out here for Giap. Cancels the penal troops, instead realizes, hang on a moment, I can go for guardsmen. They're like better penal troopers, less criminal too. MD-34, they're being swarmed. Again, this is where another MD-34 for the second line of defenses, or some S-mines if we went for fortification, could have helped out. We could also go for bunkers. Just, he needs to make a decision, and I think that's sort of the issue here. Strategically, Gastrodon seems a bit indecisive at the moment versus Giap, who's on the other hand got a much clearer plan of attack and overall sort of how he wants the game to proceed. We got the first tank out here for Giap, the T-34-76. Now the grenade here, this time they're slightly different phone. 3 engineer squads, by the way, all with flamethrowers. I mean, mines would be pretty good here for Gastrodon versus Giap. Still an attack up, troops being forced away, almost wiped out. In fact, he lost a Volkskriegs squad somewhere. Quite a loss there for Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. Grenades all here from the guardsmen. So we have, I think, in the east, the T-34 basically annihilated his Volkskriegs. So right now, Gastrodon sticks. He's also flooding a lot of manpower. Again, it seems like Gastrodon is paralyzed a bit here by indecision on a strategic level. Like, he's not entirely sure how he wants this fight to progress, what he wants to do, how to win versus Giap. And that's giving Giap here a sizable strategic and tactical advantage, because Giap, you know, just keeps it going, whereas Gastrodon is just almost 1,000 manpower and he's got 200 fuel doing nothing. Gastrodon here needs to pick himself up and make a decision schnell. There's still nothing there happening for Gastrodon. I'm guessing at this point he's going to try and rely on the Carolyn Command Panther to save his posterior. Realising he'd rather, well, bollocks that one up. Again, strategically weaker, since again it rather, you know, cedes the initiative here to Giap, and ultimately the Command Panther is good, but you know, if he gets hit by a lot of T-34s, it's going to be in trouble as well. But it seems like he's definitely in for that. He's going for another cannon. There we go. We got Spec Ops as well. So strategically weak there by Gastrodon. Strategically weak, I certainly say. You should at least get some more infantry to replace the Volkskriegs that is lost. Maybe a second Sturmpanic squad would be helpful, in particular with the Command Panther out to support that properly. We'll have to see what it ends up with here for Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. So far, very much in the back foot there as the 10th Tank Corps makes it all the way forward. Volkskriegs got Kenner moving hit, Garp and push back. Creeping up there using the rect of the looks there for cover. Closer to the command path, requires one more command point. One more to go. He's got the manpower, he's got the fuel, but does he have the will to succeed, to win? But he also needs to get the fuel point again, if not for his own sake, just to deny Giap the fuel. Mine goes off there, we got bombing runs here ready for Giap. And we finally got the command Panther ready for Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. So that should give Giap's T-34s there a bit of a headache, to put it mildly. We also got a second fuel catch up for Giap, further just enhancing his fuel lead over Gastrodon. Very good work there, very good work. Salvaging the looks for extra fuel. Oh! It wrecked the wreck, so it couldn't actually salvage it for fuel. That's a bit rubbish there for Giap. That is a... well, not Giap, but Gastrodon. For Giap, it's pretty good if his opponent doesn't get as much fuel as he can. Penetrating hit there on the rear of the Panther. The Panther had rather weak rear armor, and its sidearm wasn't that good either. About 40mm on the Model D, which I believe this one represents. No, it's actually the Model A. The Model D was the very first model. For some reason they went back to the Model A, and then it went to the Model G. They fixed that though with armoured skirts to an extent which apparently did enough to them just actually cancelling the Panther 2 project, since the Panther 2 project came about because the sidearm of the Panther was too weak versus anti-tank rifles and such. And rather than just thinking, well, what if you just had some sheets of armour, initially they actually went about designing the Panther 2. Then someone found out, hey, what if you just stick some armor on the side of it, and that worked out, so they cancelled the entire Panther 2 project. Yeah. Sometimes the Germans had a very weird way of approaching design of tanks. Another MU-34 would be really great. We got the T-34 wing hit there. McKenna efforts though, and gets the T-34 shooting fire on the way there for Giap. Troops getting molested by machine gun fire, torn to shreds. Gastrodon maintains control of the centre, though he needs to get those few points though, and needs to take up and bring up some medium armour. And if possible, some orbital design he can upgrade with the infrared Sturmgewehr, so that way punish Giap's men brutally. Quick summoning the T-34 for extra fuel, does his good. Panther doing what it can as well there for the fatherland with its high velocity 75mm gun. Panther though had some serious issues, including one was reliability. The Panther was probably one of the most unreliable tanks the Germans had in the army, even later into the war. I think it overall had a reliability sort of rate of less than 50%, and that was even sort of the later models, compared to the King Tiger had a reliability sort of rate of I think 59% comparatively. So there were some bigger differences there. That's a fun fact. Got the usual father hanging back. We got a Katyusha on the way there for Giap. Should definitely also focus on getting that Panther repaired up, since losing it is going to be a big loss there for Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. Another penetrating hit. That definitely needs to be pulled back for repairs. He's getting back the fuel. Good. He should also pressure and harass Giap's fuel though. Grabbing the fuel point there. We got the Katyusha unleashing rockets. New filtering push back. Needs to get all his forces out of the zone there of Giap's rocket barrage. And then we're going to attack it from the north side of the village. Very good there by Giap, not just attacking head on, but actually looking to flank and outmaneuver his opponent. Tends to be something a lot of players struggle with on Semoisky, but Giap here certainly displaying a nice mind, able to flank his opponent, not just bash his head into a wall. Very good work there by Giap. That is what I like to see. Gets into the slightly burning house there, but his men are willing to risk it. More likely, they're being threatened into risking it, but you know, details, details. They will all be heroes in the end, Dimitri, so do not worry about such minor details as consent. Anyway, troops being pushed back there. Swarm here going forwards. Issue the fire moving in. And we got mines being rapidly laid down there by Giap as soon as he secures territory. Very good there, very good. Not missing a beat. In fact, he's laying down several mines to make it harder for Gastrodon to counterattack. Sehr good. Stukas Fuss here. Oh, they tend not to work out. I mean, the Stukas Fuss requires some rather specific skills, and most players tend not to have them. So I'm definitely not a fan of that. Plus, it delays any further actual attempt to take over there for Giap Panthers quarters, which I think is really what Gastrodon needs. He needs something a bit better than the Volksgun is. He also needs to upgrade them while he, has a chance there. But ultimately, his long-term goal, I think, should be Overstart here versus Giap. We'll have to see how that works out though here for Gastrodon. Stukas Fuss, they're almost done here. Volksgun's moving up support here. Big hit force moving in. Gaining veterancy 4. South third point secured. Shots fired. Stukas Fuss ready. SU-5 landing a good hit there on the command Panther. Slow approach here, being slowed down though. Need to retreat. Just too many Russians with too many guns. Consequently, up defending the fuel pump there quite nicely. Stukas was fine there on the MD-34. Could risk sinking it. The right hit, but no, gets out of there in time. Gets out of there in time. Bit of maneuvering here, but there we go. Flamethrower team flanking in, pushing out the Volksgun that is out of the house. Need to get into cover there. And we got the Stukas of us out. Will Gastrodon here land a sundering hit against Giap that will somehow give him a bit of extra breathing space here. Right, almost got an engineer squad there. But sadly, mostly just wrecked a bunch of houses. But with no occupants in them, at least none that count, there was limited damage they'd done for Gastrodon here versus Giap. Very limited. That's not going to quite work out there for him, and it's going to take him some time before it's ready to fire again. It does have quite the cooldown, so any impact unit that is not quite devastating enough tends to be quite bad. But hopefully it doesn't resort to just full-on blind fire. That would be a complete mess there for Gastrodon. It would certainly just render the Stukas Fuss useless effectively and a waste of resources. More mines still going down for Giap. Another T-34 around there for Giap as well. And the 10th Tank Corps. Up north, got Guardsmen here. There's the Sturm Pioniere. A mine hit. Several Guardsmen dead. Come on, Panther moving hit there. Raketenwerfer. Folks is just crossing over the water there. Apparently like a bunch of Teutonic Jesuses. Hey, look at this, Helmut. I can walk on the water. Yeah, so can we all. The developers forgot to code it in. So shut up.
The enemy has taken our supply sector.
Mine went off. A lot of mines there from Giap. Again, very commendable work. T-34 rolling ahead. MD-34 trying to set up there for something clever, but with an exposed flank and a T-34 on the flank, which of course he doesn't know about, the MD-34 is going to have a bad day. He also needs to grab that fuel point, but so far not making any overt movements. But Giap's the centre. Giap, in this case, easily concedes it. He realises he's got no point immediately fighting on there. So rather than just trying to waste a few forces, he just sets up for a fresh counterattack there. So I think tactically there, Giap made an incredibly sound decision. Also need to get the MD-34 out of there. Gastrodon doing nothing to dig in. No sandbags, no mines, no barbed wire. And he go further losses again. Makes it harder, by the way, for Gastrodon to defend because he doesn't know where the mines are. So at any time and moment, you can risk losses. And that Stukas was about just a complete waste. Not properly angled. Stuff basically just blowing out chunks of the ice, but not actually making the impact. No upgrade on the Command Panther either. Curiously enough, there from Gastrodon. So looking a bit rough here for Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. Giap is certainly proving himself to be quite the wily opponent. Ooh, the satchel charge off on the Command Panther. Moves across the ice and needs to be careful. Good thing you didn't try to cross the ice while it was there, otherwise they would have been sunk on the spot. More rocket fire here. Bit better aimed here from Giap. And Kednefer wiped. Colossus actually got several Kednefers there. Need to pull back the Panther fully. Needs to prepare for next counter attack. He needs to get some upgrades. And obviously again he needs to attack. Long term he needs to aim his Kednef or Stukas if it was better, because currently again he's not really landing any sort of devastating hits there, despite Giap sort of increasingly bunching up his forces, which would make for some very good Stukas of his targets. Lot of mines again. Giap knows where the game is at. Subsealing reinforcing, Stukas of us reloading. More mines. Giap just keeps mining. Come on, Panther moving ahead. Stukas of us is good to go as well. Gastrodon they'll really need to take up. Shots they're fired at the Panther by the HT5. Stukas is firing again. Will this time though be more successful, or will it be another humongous waste of rockets? Almost had a serious impact there, but ultimately again just a bit of a whiff there by Gastrodon. Or I think shouldn't have gone for it. In the vast majority of cases, the Stukas of Us just ends up not really achieving much and just being, you know, a really expensive paperweight that fires rockets, but ultimately doesn't do anything with them. You know, right there's Giap lands a much more effective barrage, in part because he knows where to aim, because he knows where the enemy is, and just, you know, also the Katyusha is just a bit better in that sense. Since it just fires, you know, much more closer areas, saturating it properly, whereas the Stukas of Us, where it's firing in a line, requires a surprisingly large amount of aiming, and then if you don't aim it correctly specifically, it tends not to be good because it doesn't saturate an area, so you really tend to have very few chances of really getting a wipe on a unit compared to just, you know, firing rockets randomly in a sense, and entering the area just much more likely to actually, you know, hit and wipe stuff. Which is also kind of why, when they actually in the full balance preview nerfed it, now that's why it's, you know, been put on hold until they get enough resources. Well, again, they technically buffed it because it only made it better because, again, it didn't require so specific aiming when, you know, the shots became more random. North, the foot is pushing back there. The guardsmen. Command Panther setting out. Sturm Pioneers halfway to Veteran 3. Giap then certainly looking much stronger. Finally taking up there for Gastrodon. Took him far too long. Far too long. Going for another Kedner for sandbags crushed there by the Panther's mighty gun. 4 kills, close to Veteran 2-1. Victory points wise, so things are slightly trickling out there for Gastrodon and the 11th Panther Division. Another Stukas with barrage. Will this one be better aimed? Once more complete waste of a barrage there by Gastrodon. He's just firing blindly, which the Stukas of Us is particularly bad at because, again, of its really high accuracy. Again, you're very unlikely to actually hit anything by accident. It's much more of a precision weapon than any others of the artillery weapons in the game in that sense. So to blind fire it is a particularly spectacular waste of the Stukas of Us unless your opponent is a big fat blobber and not very good at it either. Keep it further firing. You got the Katyusha launching another series of rockets there. Command Panther T-54. Big mistake here though with the Panthers re-exposed to T-54. That does make the T-54's job a lot bloody easier. Gastrodon there contained to a small corner of the village now. He's still got infantry, but it's not really making as much progress as he'd like. And there you go. Finally, Schwerpanzer quarters up. 34 minutes into the game. Could head it up sooner here versus Giap. Could head it up a lot sooner. Issue 5, T-34, Kednev is all moving headed to beat Gastrodon's nose in and possibly in a big spectacular finishing assault. Who knows? Stukas are reloading. It's Veterans 1 now, which does help a bit there. But overall, though, he still needs to aim it a lot bloody better. That is truly Gastrodon's here biggest issue with the Stukas of us. Head on assault, but there's some slight movement there. Aircraft shot down. So we actually saw reconnaissance there from Giap. We haven't seen so much of the Doctrine Arch. We've seen some guardsmen, but beyond that, not a lot else. Alright, this time though, it actually worked out. He actually got some kills, so did some damage for once. Hooray for Gastrodon. Almost Veteran 2 already on the Stukas, but you know, took him ages to get to that point when he actually landed a good hit with the Stukas. Until then, it was just not very cost efficient. We also know that Giap now has got 2 T-34s, an 85 and a Katyusha, plus a bunch of infantry. Comparatively, Gastrodon doesn't quite have the same force, and another unit wiped by all of Giap's mines. Giap has done a really good mining here across the map, particularly the centre, making it a lot harder there for Gastrodon to move in, but also in many cases, what is also very interesting to note is how easily Giap will give up the village centre to Gastrodon, because ultimately knows it doesn't matter. In fact, it makes it easier for Giap to manage Gastrodon, because Gastrodon will only necessarily defend small area, and then he just attacks into elsewhere. So, in a sense, it almost feels like Giap is just using the village centre as a trap for Gastrodon to get himself killed in repeatedly, which, if true, is absolutely devious. Absolutely devious. Fiendishly so. But also commendable, and certainly also just highlights to an extent just how bad, you know, when it is when people actually overly focus on the village centre.
The sector is at risk.
He's got a bombing run ready here with the R2 precision bombing strike. Stukas was very close to it, T2. Just needs to find a good target to actually blast a bit. He's got 45 points left to hit Gastrodon. You can soon go for a Yak Panzer. That would not be a bad idea with all the Russian armor, but also with a tank destroyer. And another barrage, not really amounting to much there for Gastrodon. He got a kill, but you know, generally with that kind of cooldown, you should want a bit more than a single kill. You should want and desire a bit more than a single kill. Got the Northern Victory coming on the resource around it. We got a big push here from Giap into the centre there. Conscripts, T-34, Station 5, got Kenneth, they're getting spotted. They're not quite in the right direction either. Machine gun overwhelmed here by Giap's forces. The Kenneth's the fang way at the Russian armour. Not caring about what's near them. Forces are doing what they can. There we go. Got one T-34, bit of a loss there for Giap. Penal troops almost being knocked out here by the Panther, which is finally upgraded the machine gun, by the way. And there you go. Penal troops wiped, bit of a loss there for Giap, but he's going to lose to the Kednev besides the MG-34 there. Not good there for Gastrodon. We also got forces far up north. I wonder what the devil there. I think they're going to try and flank behind and do something there to Giap. It's good to see him finally flanking, but it feels rather belated. He might be able to get the engineers there if he sort of hunts them down, which would help a bit long term, but the question is, does he have a long term to sort of stick to? Seems like he's not going for the Yak Panther, might be aiming for a Panther 4. He's right, flame for a drop, they can't do anything with it. And Giap, they're going for a lot of T-34s. I mean, he's got a huge fuel hump, and you know, couldn't use it for some time because he had too many units anyways. Need to treat the folks because there might be a wipe there against Gastrodon and the 11th Panzer Division. He got lucky. Another Stukas was barrage. Will this one be the one with an actual impact? Against Giap will just be another wasted barrage. But he almost got the MG-34. That's about it. 42 points left there for Gastrodon. Katyusha moving up there, 7 kills, Veterans he won. firing into the base, hoping to get some units reinforcing. Folks going to be pushing forwards there for Gastrodon, supported by the Command Panther. Assailing Giap's positions here by the centre of the map. Command Panther rolling ahead there, going for the T-34s. Using its high velocity gun there. T-34 penetrating the 18 meters of sloped armour. T-34 having, well, no luck bouncing the Panther shot. Another T-34 there for Giap, almost done as well. Big push through the centre. 31 victory points left there for Gastrodon versus Giap. 30 points. Now the MG-34 running there by for Gastrodon, and the 11th Panzer to be shown as the 10th Tank Corps rolls ahead. Unrelenting. Unstoppable. Ish. There we go. Grenades off. Folks, they're wiped by the guards grenade. T-34 bombarding. And with this, though, Gastrodon surrenders, realizing he has no way of overcoming Giap's successful assaults. He realizes probably there's an infinite number of tanks waiting behind these tanks. So, Gastrodon, they're ultimately losing. Again, focusing too much on the center. Again, it's a big mistake that a lot of players can tend to make. They get too focused there, not enough on the resources. As Giap display their overall good strategic and tactical aptitude, focusing on the fuel, and overall, in many cases, just mining the center of the map, allowing Gastrodon to roll in there, who didn't bring any mines in many cases, taking losses, and then counterattacking, because overall, the way most people defend Semoisky center, I mean, it actually makes it very easy to attack there. Again, if you attack from several angles, and that way destroy them in that regard, I mean, again, I'm assuming here that Giap pretty much had that one planned out and just kept giving away the center intentionally to Gastrodon, so Gastrodon could go in there, get himself killed, set up a poor defense, and then wreck him again and again. Like, really fiendish play there by Giap. Overall, again, very tactically and strategically solid, showing why Giap is a really, really good player, and it's why it's good to actually have him back here. So, well played there by Giap. Also, decently played there by Gastrodon, but ultimately, again, too focused in this village centre. Again, making that really weak strategic turn, I feel, of going mechanized into battle group headquarters, rather than trying to, you know, go from the looks, use the momentum there to push for medium armor, and then backtaking for the battle group headquarters. Had he done that, I think Gastrodon would have been much better off, but again, sadly, wasn't quite able to take off there versus Giap, and that further gave Giap then edge versus Gastrodon, alongside, you know, the fuel caches, which was also, I think, a really good move there by Giap, solidifying any fuel edge he would have had over Gastrodon long term. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this match. I hope you learned something from it, because I do think there are a lot of good lessons in this match. Enjoyed it. If you did, you know, subscribe, like, share, and comment on it. And if those would certainly be appreciated. Also, big thanks to my Patreon support, without which this video would not be available or possible. Well, not available, maybe, but it wouldn't certainly been quite possible. So big thanks to all of you. You're all wonderful people that allow me to do this on a daily basis. And of course, if you'd like to support me, feel free to do so. I'd certainly be very happy about it. There's links in the video description, Patreon or PayPal, and if you pledge at least $5, you can get a replay reviewed a month, sort of roughly, you know. So it's a bit of an offer there for you if you want to improve your game that way a bit more directly, with a bit of instruction from me. You know, pledge $5 at minimum, and you know, a replay a month. I'll sort of, you know, have a look at it and give you some feedback on what you can improve upon. So on the way there, thank you all for joining, and hope to see you all tomorrow for another exciting episode. Cheers everybody, and bye.